Welcome to the Wicket.
Hello and welcome to our weekly journey through the world of cricket here at The Wicket, courtesy of Arab News. I'm Brian Murgatroyd, and with me as ever to assess what's going on and why it's going on in the sport locally in the Gulf, regionally in Asia and worldwide are Arab News columnist Jon Pike and Arab News cricket reporter Subas Humagain. Hello, gentlemen.
Hello, Brian. Hi, Subas.
Hi, John. Hello, Brian.
And in this episode, we talk Indian Premier League as the end of the group stage draws ever closer. We discuss the Women's T20 World Cup qualifier in the UAE, with Sri Lanka and Scotland booking their places in the main event in Bangladesh later this year. We wrap up on the West Indies women's tour of Pakistan and reflect upon the 5-match T20I series between Bangladesh and India's women. We chat about the men's T20 international series between Bangladesh and Zimbabwe in Bangladesh. We assess the West Indies men's A tour of Nepal. And on top of that, Subas and John give us their personal highlights from the past week. So, as ever, plenty of subjects to work through, so let's start. This week we get underway with the ICC Women's T20 World Cup qualifier in Abu Dhabi in the UAE, and Sri Lanka and Scotland have booked their places in the mega event that will take place later this year in Bangladesh, with Sri Lanka winning the tournament thanks to a superb 100 in the final by captain Chamari Atapattu. Scotland won through some superb performances, overcoming Uganda, the USA and Thailand in the group stages before overwhelming Ireland by 8 wickets in the all-important semi-final. Sri Lanka, like Scotland from Group A, went unbeaten through that group stage and then won a nail-biting semi-final against the UAE, edging home by 15 runs under the lights of the Zayed Cricket Stadium. The final saw Chamari produce a virtuoso performance with 102 from 63 balls as Sri Lanka racked up 169 for 5, the second highest score of the tournament, and Scotland, without their own captain Catherine Bryce because of injury, could only respond with 101 for 7. Subas, let's start with Sri Lanka. They were expected to not only qualify but also to win the event, and they did that. How impressed were you with the way Sri Lanka handled the tag of being favourites?
I think this act as the preparation for the World Cup for them. I think they were heavy favourites. If you see at the ranking, that explains a lot about the individuals that are in display. Samari being leader of the team. I think she played her innings in the big games against Scotland, half century and century in the final. It speaks about how she rises up to the occasion. And it was good that she was supported by Basmi up top and the bowlers came in as well. And they proved that they're the favourites here. And they shouldn't be taken lightly even in the World Cup. They're one of the best teams for the sort of format as well.
Yes, they were very impressive indeed, unbeaten throughout the tournament, Sri Lanka. John, let's look at Scotland, the other qualifiers. They were led by Catherine Bryce, who was named player of the tournament, and what a captain's effort she produced. Have a listen to these figures. 57 not out and 4 for 17 against the USA, 63 not out and none for 14 in 3 overs against Thailand, and then 4 for 8, including 2 wickets in the first over, and an unbeaten 35 in that match against Ireland. Truly incredible stuff from her.
Yes, a pretty superb, inspirational all-round performance from her. You know, what must be the team's most significant match in its history. Certainly, I think, a watershed moment. And last week I did point out the mouth-watering possibility of this Celtic clash. But I have to say I was surprised by both the victory and its margin. Let's not forget Rachel Slater's contribution with her, I think 11 wickets. Plus a pretty smart run out in that semi-final. And fittingly, the Bryce sisters were at the crease when the victory was achieved.
Yes, Rachel Slater, the top wicket taker in the tournament, the left armour, she took 11 wickets. But of course, for every success story, there's sadness too. And for Ireland and the UAE in particular, it was heartbreaking for them to lose their semi-finals and so lose the chance to go to Bangladesh. Subas, the UAE didn't make it, but there were plenty of of positives for them. They reached the last four after losing their first two group games, and in captain Isha Oza, they had an outstanding performer across the tournament. She was leading the side and made 66 from 44 balls in that semi-final against Sri Lanka. It's amazing to think, isn't it, that she's 26 years of age. She was 3 years older than the next oldest player in the squad. In fact, they had 6 players aged 18 or younger in their semi-final.
Yeah, I think I call UAE are going to be one of the team to beat in this tournament and even tip them to make it to the semi-finals. And exactly that happened. I think the team is excellent. I've seen them play in front of my eyes, and the age of the players and the experience they have, I think it's out of the world. They have 60 plus matches, the players of 17, 20 years age, and there's good coaching staff now. UAE cricket is focusing on women's cricket, and the investment made is reaping fruits. If you look at the players, Tirtha Sathesh, she's 20 years old. She bats better than many associate cricketers, and she's already played 60 odd matches. We thought that Mahika Kaur's departure would hamper the team, but I think Isha Oza had done brilliantly leading this young team, and the just 19-20, the main players like Vaishnavi Ganesh, I think they're going to improve themselves going forward playing these sort of matches, and I think they'll be a team to beat in par with Thailand in coming years.
Yes, plenty to come from the UAE, no doubt about that. And Ahmed Raza, the former men's captain, playing a role there as well on the coaching staff. John, for Ireland, what a bitter disappointment. They went unbeaten in the group stage, but they just fell apart in the semi-final. What on earth went wrong?
It seems like Scotland got their homework right and its execution spot on. It laid plans for Ireland's leading batters, Amy Hunter and Gabby Lewis, who got out to not particularly great shots. But after their early dismissals, Ireland never recovered. And they were simply, I think, outmanoeuvred on the day.
Yes, Amy Hunter and Gabby Lewis both out in the first over of the match. They certainly won't want to see their shots again. Subas, what are your key takeaways from this tournament?
I think the level of competition there is. At the start, we saw some shocking results as well. The teams, whoever can beat anyone, USA being the only team not getting any wins, but I think the preparation speaks a lot about that as well. UAE coming into the semi-finals at using the home conditions as well. I think that was a great thing to see. Thailand struggling. Zimbabwe, I think that one match against Vanuatu hampered their start and went on not to be in the semi-finals at all. But I think this overall tournament is a great testament that women's cricket is rising, and I think there's future in this cricket, and people should look forward to it. The board should invest in it, and I think this is a good statement for all of cricket.
John, can either Scotland or Sri Lanka hold their own, do you think, in the more elite company in October?
I think it will be difficult, especially for Scotland. They're feisty. They all look to cause an upset. We have a guide. They were well beaten by Sri Lanka in the final, although they were without Catherine Bryce and they fell to Chamari. I think they join England, South Africa, Bangladesh and the West Indies, and I think that's tough. Sri Lanka will feel it's where they belong, but they're with India, Australia, New Zealand and Pakistan. I guess they may feel a chance against the last two.
Well, the tournament schedule for Bangladesh has now been released, and it's a short, sharp event from October the 3rd to the 20th. The opening match sees England play South Africa in Dhaka, with Bangladesh in action on the same day at the same venue against Scotland. What a start for the qualifiers there, and a terrific double-header to get things underway. Defending champions Australia, they start the next day in Sylhet against Sri Lanka. Let's talk now about the IPL, the Indian Premier League, which is moving towards the end of the league stages. Kolkata and Rajasthan are still top of the table as we record this podcast and seemingly certain of a place in the playoffs. And remember, a place in the top two gives a side 2 bites at the cherry of reaching the final. Below them are Chennai, whose big win over Punjab in Dharamshala pushed them into the top 4 as they defended a seemingly modest score. And behind Chennai come Sunrisers Hyderabad, who've hit the buffers a little bit with 3 losses in their last 4 games, and Lucknow, who were heavily beaten by Kolkata. Outside of those teams, Delhi retain a chance of reaching the top 4, especially after beating Rajasthan for a 4th win in their last 5 matches, while Mumbai, Punjab, Royal Challengers Bengaluru, despite 3 wins in a row, and last year's finalists Gujarat, all appear to be, if not out of contention, then certainly close to that position. Subas, let's start with Kolkata, who are the ascendant side at the moment off the back of 3 wins in a row. A major key to their success has been the opening pairing of Phil Salt and Sunil Narine. Narine has had an incredible tournament, and as we record this podcast, he's the 3rd highest run scorer behind only Virat Kohli and Ruturaj Gaikwad. That's a remarkable fact in itself, but also remarkable is that he's hit most sixes in the tournament, 32. He's been a lower order player all his life. So why on earth can't bowlers get a handle on how to get him out, or at least stop him scoring? Or is it simply a case that his batting has improved a huge amount?
I think Narayan KKR taking a punt with him. It's like he uses the power play so well. He hits the ball clean, and you can see him struggling to get the runs once he gets past 60, 70, because the power play is already done and he can't get the ball like a stroke play. I think Gautam Gambhir deserves a lot of credit for taking this decision with Chandrakant Pandit. They know his hitting ability and they're using the power play. And you see the innings of Sunil Narine, he's fearless. Even if he goes out for a duck, that doesn't hamper a team, because it's like they're experimenting with him at the start, but now he's been the mainstay and he's getting the runs. So I think they didn't need to look for options now. Phil Salt, what a tournament it has been for him. At start, I thought that Ramanullah Gurbaz was exceptional in the last season, would get the chance, but Salt has taken this opportunity with both the hands and has been scoring runs as well. And the partnership has flourished. I think the opponent bowlers should look at not better than getting the plans. I think this should be not letting them get the runs as freely as they've been allowing. I think it's not about the tactics. I think they're just coming in and swinging the bat and getting the runs. It's not about that. Narayan has improved fastly or is batting well, but it's just hitting it out of the park. You can see that in his gameplay as well.
It's incredible to think, isn't it, that Phil Salt wasn't actually picked up in the original draft, and he's only come into the tournament off the back of Jason Roy pulling out. And, well, what a stroke of luck that's been for KKR. John, Kolkata's rise also seems to have coincided with Mitchell Starc finally finding his mojo. The player who cost almost $3 million at the auction took 4 for 33 in his latest outing in Mumbai. That's much more like the sort of form we would expect of him, isn't it?
Yes, it seems it's all being put down to the fact that his wife, Alyssa Healy, showed up. His form's been patchy and of concern, but that was a match-winning 3 wickets in the 19th over for sure.
And John, what about Rajasthan? Their winning run came to an end with a 1-run loss to Sunrisers, and they lost again, this time to Delhi, conceding more than 200 in both those games. That said, they topped 200 in response both times, and chasing 202 against Sunrisers, they lost both Jos Buttler and Sanju Samson in the first over of the chase. So to get that close after losing those 2 players suggests they have strength in depth in the batting, and that, perhaps, in a strange sort of way, must give them a little bit of confidence despite the defeats.
Well, it was a very bad start at the hands of Bhuveshwar Kumar. Jaswal and Perag fought back, partnership of 134. And but for Pat Cummins' 19th over, conceding 7, which included 6 off the last ball, they probably wouldn't have got there. And of course, Kumar sealed it on the last ball, defending 13 off the last over. I think Rose probably felt they should have won that.
Yes, they didn't though, and that's back-to-back losses for them now, just losing form at the wrong time of the tournament. Subas, let's talk about Chennai. They've lost Mustafiza Rahman to Bangladesh duty. Matisha Patirana's gone with a hamstring injury. That's thrust Shardul Thakur and England seaman swing bowler Richard Gleeson into the spotlight. Do they now have the bowling depth to trouble the best sides?
It's going to be tough, not having Mustafiza, one of the premier bowler, and Patirana wicket taker as well. It's going to be tough to replace them, but it opens up an opportunity for Shivam Dube to have a ball. I think there will be more responsibility upon Ravindra Jadeja to get that bowling leadership. I think Moeen Ali could come into the fray as well, getting more of that bowling responsibility. But it's a big miss to have your wicket-taking bowlers, premier bowlers, not in the tournament. And Richard Gleeson, a veteran, I should say, coming late into the game. I think he could make an impact, but you don't have similar impact to what Pathirana and Mustafiza does with these players. I think Tushar Deshpande should continue what he's been doing, but he should get the support from Shardul Thakur. He's been out of form for a long time, and this is a time for him to repay the fifth that Chennai has shown.
John, talking of Chennai, they found a way to beat Punjab in Dharamshala with Mitchell Santner stepping up. The New Zealand left-arm spinner opened the bowling as Chennai tried to defend a modest score and produced figures of 3 overs, 1 for 10. Could he be a piece in the jigsaw to help them click, or was that just a horses for courses selection, do you think?
Well, I had to take a second look at CSK's lineup. I'd forgotten that Gleeson and Santner are there. Certainly the latter hasn't had his chances. Remember, the match was played at Dharamsala, a slow, low wicket, which must have influenced team selection, along with injuries, including at the Chahar. So not only did 2 of them get to play, but also Moeen Ali, who didn't bowl, much to one's surprise. It looks like the injuries are going to force CSK to play those who've not featured very much.
Yes, but they've managed to do what winners do, and they've found their way into the top 4 at the right time of the tournament. Let's see if they can stay there. John, what about Sunrisers? They somehow beat Rajasthan, as you mentioned earlier, when the chips were down. Bhubaneswar Kumar delivered with the new ball and at the death. But is it fair to say their lack of a really incisive bowler across the tournament is starting to hurt them, I wonder? They lost badly to Mumbai as Suryakumar Yadav savaged them with an unbeaten 100, doing to them what they've done to so many sides themselves this season.
Well, it does look like they could have done one against the Mumbai Indians, who were 31 for 3 after 4 overs and in trouble. And then they fell foul of a masterclass from Sky.
Yes, it was a terrific innings from him, but the Sunrisers just running out of steam, it would appear, and they need to somehow gird their loins to get across the line at the back end of this group stage and make sure they stay in the top 4. Subas, Lucknow, well, they suffered a heavy defeat to Kolkata, and now with Mayank Yadav again struck down with a side injury and seemingly out of the tournament, they lack that X-factor crackerjack bowler. Have they got enough to cement a place in the top 4, I wonder, with batting including KL Rahul, Marcus Stoinis, Nicky Puran? They tried Ashton Turner against Kolkata with only limited success in the middle order. What do you think of Lucknow's chances now?
I think with the results not going their way, it's tough for them. Marcus Stoinis has been doing his bit, but I think there's a player they should use that would really help them in Kyle Mayer's have bats left hand, does well in the middle, balls as well, can operate the full quota of 4 overs, is proven in an international level, and I think he's just back from Bangladesh playing excellent domestic cricket there. So I think it's been late that he's not been used, but I would use Kyle Mayers in this situation for Lucknow. They'll have some experience in them, and I think West Indies, Nicholas Puran knows him well. I think both of them bat left-handed and could bat well in the middle or overs, and he solves a bit of a bowling problem as well with his bowling, his wicket-taking bowler. So I think Lucknow should really look at Mayers to balance their squad balance as well as maybe getting the result, because it's not been used, and I think they should really go for him right now.
And Subas, can we write off all of Delhi, Mumbai, Gujarat, Punjab and RCB now, or could one of them still spring a surprise and sneak into that top 4? I see Delhi, well, they seem to be coming on hard, although they have played more matches than those teams above them, but they look bang full of confidence at the moment.
Yeah, Delhi could sneak in predicted top 4, but they still have 2 matches, and that being one against Lucknow Super Giants at the end. I think the RCB match, they will need to win that to get any hope of getting into the top 4. But the match against LSG, I think that could be a shootout between these 2 teams if Sunrisers or Chennai falter in their game. I think RCB themselves are out of the scene, but they could still have a role in letting know who goes forward, because they have matches against Chennai and Delhi both. If they beat Chennai in the last game, you never know. Chennai could see all the way down after their recent poor form of just 3 wins in last 5.
And John, is it Kolkata, Rajasthan, Chennai and one of Sunrisers or Lucknow for that top 4 for you, or do you see another side crashing the party?
Yeah, I think we agreed. I think the Royals and KKR are in strong position, probably need 1 more win each. 4 points actually separate the other 8 teams. 3 matches left, 2 for Delhi Capitals. So there's much to play for, and I think much uncertainty. I still harbour reservations against CSK, even more so now they're vulnerable through injuries. They can reach 18 points, but I think can only afford to lose 1. So it opens a door for others. I think the Sunrisers need to win 2 out of 3. The important thing is, I think as Subas just mentioned, they do play Lucknow, so it's a pretty vital head-to-head. And the Capitals also play Lucknow, so I think those 2 matches are pretty crucial. And the Capitals could reach 16 points. You mentioned they've got a good head of steam, and I I sort of think they're going to get in the top four, and who the others are will, I think, depend upon the result of those forthcoming head-to-heads. So it actually keeps the group stage alive, I think, right to the end.
Yes, it's been a terrific group stage of this edition of the IPL, and now we're close to the end of that stage. We'll keep an eye on things, and when we return for our next episode, we'll see how the cards have fallen here at the Wicket. The West Indies have wrapped up what was a hugely successful tour of Pakistan, their women's side sealing the T20I series 4-1 after earlier winning the ODI series 3-0. We've spoken about those ODIs and the first three T20Is previously on the Wicket. But the tour ended with the storyline unchanged, really, with West Indies captain Hayley Matthews dominating with bat and ball. That said, Pakistan did manage to win a match, securing an 8-wicket victory in match 4 of the T20I series as they restricted the visitors to a paltry 84 for 9 before cruising home. But normal service was resumed in the final encounter as the West Indies won by 8 wickets, chasing Pakistan's 134 for 8, easing home with 10 balls to spare as Matthews, who else, made 78 from 59 balls, following on from 1 for 24 with her off-spin. John, we'll start again with Hayley. Where else? Because just have a listen to these numbers. Across 8 innings of 530 runs with 200s, 350s and 13 wickets. That must rank, John, as one of the great all-round displays of all time in women's cricket.
Well, it's a continuation of pure class. Let's not forget that between February and October 2023, she won 8 consecutive T20I awards, averaging 88 with a bat and 12 with a ball. And there were other outstanding performances in that year, including a century against Australia. She really is a superstar.
But John, if you were a West Indies supporter, aside from the pleasure of the victories they've racked up, would you be a little concerned, perhaps, that this was pretty much a one-woman show?
Oh, yes, I would be. If she were to be injured or lose form, it equates to losing a significant part of your team. In the 2 series against Pakistan, she scored almost 40% of the runs, and she scooped player of the match astonishingly in 5 of the 8 matches. And the sort of best supporting acts are coming from Steph Taylor and Jermaine Campbell with other bits and pieces. So she really is such an integral part, complete engine room of the whole team.
Well, for Pakistan, they have the chance to put their disappointments behind them very quickly. But what a chance as they tour England for 3 2020 internationals, followed by 3 one-day internationals, with the one-day internationals part of the ICC Women's Championship. The championship is for the ODI leg of the tour, as the top 6 sides in a 10-team league will qualify for the 2025 50-over World Cup in India. And with Pakistan's recent form woeful, those matches will be pretty much do or die for them, as they are the side's final 3 matches of the Women's Championship cycle. They're currently 5th, but the West Indies are a mere 2 points behind them with 9 matches left to play. Sri Lanka are also 2 points behind with 6 matches left, while Bangladesh, also with 6 matches remaining, are only a point further back. Subas, do you give Pakistan any chance of getting anything from this tour and from the one-day internationals in particular? What are their prospects here, do you think?
It's going to be tough environment-wise, conditions-wise. Players, they're getting battered in home conditions and now they have to go. And I think this is a last bit of chance to get any numerical advantage in the table. But England themselves, I think they'll try to win all 3 and book their place all qualified ahead of other series. So for Pakistan, I think now they should focus on the Women's Cricket World Cup qualifier rather than trying to get in the top 6, which is, if you look at England, how they have been playing, the Sri Lanka series was a blip for them, but I think that they're playing fantastic cricket and it will be hard for Pakistan to get anything away. Anything, even a win would be a bonus for Pakistan from here.
John, England have left out Tammy Beaumont and Sophia Dunkley from their T20I squad. It's no surprise in Tammy's case, as she was only included in New Zealand earlier this year, while Danny Wyatt completed her commitments in the Women's Premier League in India. But there was a little bit more surprise at Sophia Dunkley's omission. Did either absence catch you off guard?
Well, judging from John Lewis's comments, the head coach, it would seem that something is going on with Sophia. Apparently she's been left out in order to give her space to get back to her best cricket. Apparently, and quoting John Lewis, she has been the epicentre of criticism and questions, unquote, which seem to have detracted from a focus on maximum practice. And both she and Tammy will play regional cricket rather than bench warm in an attempt to get them back to playing their best cricket.
Well, it was quite interesting, actually, when I crunched the numbers and saw actually that Sophia Dunkley, she's only been in double figures 3 times in her past 9 2020 international innings. So to that extent, perhaps it's no surprise she has been left out.
No, but I think it's looking at the underlying reasons as to why there should be that dip in form.
Absolutely. Well, one player's absence is another one's blessing, of course, and Maya Bouchier has been included after a stellar run in New Zealand, where she made 43 not out, 12 and 71 at number 3, before 71 and 91 from 56 deliveries. When opening, that was a total of 288 runs. She certainly deserves her run at the top, yet she'll get the opportunity against Pakistan. There's no Mahika Gore, incidentally. The young left-arm fast bowler is missing the series to focus on her A-levels. The tour starts with the T20Is, with the opening match in Birmingham on Saturday, May the 11th. And we'll chat about that in our next episode. The Indian Women's Tour of Bangladesh, T20Is, is continuing, and the visitors are going along extremely well in a dress rehearsal for their appearance in the T20 World Cup in the country later this year. The two sides, those 5 matches, well, we spoke about the matches 1 and 2 of the series in last week's podcast. In match 3, India won by 7 wickets with 8 balls to spare, restricting Bangladesh to 117 for 8 before knocking off the runs comfortably, mainly thanks to Smriti Mandana with 47 and Shefali Verma, who made 51. Then in match 4, which was reduced to 14 overs per side by rain, India scored 122 for 6, with captain Harmanpreet Kaur making 39 from 26 balls, before Bangladesh replied with 68 for 7. India couldn't really have asked for anything better ahead of the T20 World Cup. Batters and bowlers operating in conditions they'll experience later this year, and, most importantly of all, the side winning. But on the other side of the coin, Subas Humagain Khan, the home side's leg spinner, captain Nigar Sultana with the bat, they've impressed. But are these real positives they can take, or just crumbs of comfort after being well beaten?
I think Rabia is a solid positive note because she's playing against India, getting wickets. She didn't get to bowl in one game, that was unaffected. But looking at the World Cup, they're going to play in similar conditions, at home conditions. So I think they should look at the positives, get Rabia more to bowl against these premier players and strengthen herself. She's just 19, but the amount of quality she has, I think she can go places. And Rabia and Nigar Sultan, I think she's playing well, is the top run scorer, but batting has not been easy. We can see in India's squad as well. So maybe they can get something out of nothing in the last game, but I think this is a good preparation for a World Cup playing against India at their turf.
Yes, the draw for the tournament, as we mentioned earlier, has been made. 2 groups. That's the T20 World Cup later this year. Bangladesh have found themselves in Group B with the West Indies, England, South Africa, the runners-up in last year's edition on home soil, and Scotland. And India, they're in Group A with Australia, New Zealand, Pakistan, and Sri Lanka. The women's action against India hasn't been the only international cricket in Bangladesh, as the men are hosting Zimbabwe in a 5-match T20I series that's acting as a preparation for the home team ahead of the T20 World Cup in the Caribbean and the USA that gets underway in June. So far, things have gone Bangladesh's way, and they've sealed the series with 2 matches in hand. In match 1, they cruised home by 8 wickets with 4 overs and 4 balls to spare, overcoming Zimbabwe's inadequate 124. E34. Then in match 2, the hosts chased successfully again, going past Zimbabwe's 138 for 7 with 6 wickets and 9 deliveries in hand. And in match 3, batting first for the first time in the series, Bangladesh edged home by 9 runs after scoring 165 for 5 as Mohammed Saifuddin took 3 for 42. Subas, 2 solid chases by Bangladesh, and on both occasions, Tawhid Hassan was the finisher, 33 not out from 18 balls in match 1 and an unbeaten 37 from 25 balls in match 2. He then actually made 57 from 38 balls in match 3 as well. He's been on the scene for just over a year now, having debuted in the winning T20I series against England last March. But have Bangladesh found a finisher now, such a vital role in this format?
Yeah, he's been getting the numbers. Even in the domestic league, Dhaka Premier League, he has been getting runs in the last 10 innings. But it's batting away from home is what concerns me. I think he went to New Zealand, couldn't convert what he did in Bangladesh. So now the team is supposed to go places. They play in Dallas, then go to Kingstown, New York, St. Vincent. They're playing in different conditions. But I think the preparatory series they'll have against the USA in Prairie View, Houston, I think that will be very important to see how he fares in that conditions. Then it's a new game, new scenario every single game. So it's going to be tough for him to get used to the conditions. But at home, I think he's shown what he can do in the Dhaka Premier League as well as in these series. So he'll need to get consistent and get used to new environments as well. I think talent-wise, he's exceptional. We've seen the numbers. We've seen his playing style. He plays fearless cricket, and that's what is needed in the finisher role.
Yes, fearless cricket from Tawhid Hassan. John, as for Zimbabwe, well, they aren't going to be at the World Cup, of course, having been pipped for a place by Namibia and Uganda in last year's qualifier. And the first 2 matches certainly were sobering experiences for their top order in particular. They were 41 for 7 in match 1 and then 42 for 5 in match 2. Even in match 3, where they lost relatively narrowly, they'd still slipped to 91 for 8 before a late rally. It's just really alarming, isn't it? They just can't seem to turn around a desperate slump in form.
It does look like a complete collapse of confidence and motivation. Sikander Raza and Craig Irvine haven't got runs as experienced players. They didn't only lose by 9 runs, but it's one of those cases where, how do you get out of a slump? And there doesn't seem a ready-made answer at the moment. Perhaps they should take a little bit of heart from Mongolia, who were bowled out for 12 by Japan, I see, the other day.
Yes, perhaps that'll be Zimbabwe's next tour then, off to Mongolia to have a battle against them, because things aren't working out for Zimbabwe at the moment. Let's hope from their perspective that they do over the last couple of matches of that particular series. Let's talk about the West Indies A tour to Nepal now. It was 5 2020s and the West Indies A side won the series 3-2. In the final match, Nepal chased down the West Indies A total of 172 for 7, winning by 6 wickets with 7 balls in hand. With the ball, Sompol Kami took 3 for 16 and Sagar Dakal collected 2 for 17 in 2 overs, while with the bat, Anil Sar scored an unbeaten 58 from 45 deliveries, while opener Asif Sheikh rattled along with 51 from 35 balls. Subas, we must start with you as you were at the matches. Talk to us first about the spectacle as a whole, the crowds, the level of interest among broadcasters and sponsors, and the fact Nepal held their own against more experienced players and gained some great experience ahead of the T20 World Cup.
I think the experience part is the most important thing in this series. Nepal played against a big team of world-class players. 3 players from this squad are playing the World Cup, the home World Cups. It's so special. And players like Andre Fletcher, Fabian Allen, Ocean Thomas, Matthew Ford are missing out. Hayden Watts Jr. is not in the team. He was here. So I think you can't call them West Indies A in name, but I think the quality of player was top-notch, and the spectacle, the spectators, they flooded in. Even when Nepal was 3-1 down, the last match was houseful. West Indies players enjoyed the crowd as well. Nepal were top of the game. Series was in 3-2, but I take that as a leveler with the quality of cricket that we saw from Nepal as well. So I think result-wise Nepal lost, but I think the winner would be Nepal as well. The quality of players that came in Nepal, I think, is the biggest we had, and the kind of cricket we saw, I think think more big teams, I think someday senior teams from Test Nations would come to here and play. So ahead of a World Cup in West Indies, I think this could have been any better.
I just wonder, Subas, is there an expectation now within Nepal that there are going to be more of these sorts of tours in the future?
Well, if you look at FTP, there's nothing such, but you never know. West Indies A came in late. It was work of board and the coach in specific, Monty Desai, who had worked with the West Indies team, and he worked hard to get this series done. So there's been positive messages across with the participation, the competition, the quality of cricket in show, and Nepal being a tourism hub, it's not just inside the field, but off the field as well. So being realistic, I don't expect any test teams or senior teams to come soon, but I think A teams, I think it will be good for teams that are touring subcontinent to come in Nepal and get used to this scenario. Maybe if they tour India, maybe Nepal would be an option for the A team or development squad to come in and let their players know the new situations and surroundings as well.
And John, hosting a side from overseas can be an expensive business, but could this be a blueprint, I wonder, for other associate sides and perhaps playing across more than one format too? What do you think?
Well, I think it depends on how boards are going to calculate their return on investment. I mean, as Subas has pointed out, in Nepal's case, it's up to its preparations for World Cup. There was a real purpose behind it. Depends on the economics of the case, I think, as much as the playing case. It depends upon the level of support one might get from sponsors to support the cause. Really is another example of the difference between the haves and the have-nots in cricket these days.
Yes, I'm afraid it is, but fingers crossed that we see more of these sorts of tours in the future, because they can only help to develop cricket across the world. Well, Nepal's first game in the T20 World Cup is on day 3 of the tournament. They'll face the Netherlands in Dallas. That's on the 4th of June. They've been drawn in Group D with Bangladesh, South Africa and Sri Lanka, the other sides in that group, and 2 sides go through to the next stage. And finally, gentlemen, as we always do, let's hear from you about something that's caught your attention this week in the world of cricket. John, first of all.
Well, there's been a bit of chatter around support for bowlers in the IPL in future. Dean Elgar's revelations about toxic environment in cricket South Africa. But for me, I think the noises from Pakistan are the most significant. News that the Pakistan Super League is to run from April the 7th to May the 20th, 2025. This means it's going to run alongside the IPL. It's going to coexist rather than compete. Interesting to see how that will work on media channels. But it does, of course, avoid the Asia Cup, which is scheduled for February 2025, and Ramadan, which is March 2025. There's an issue about potential impact upon overseas players' availability. Let's talk about possibility of neutral venues for the playoffs. There are implications, of course, for IOT20, both players and in terms of when it's going to be hosted. Someone had to move first, I think, as we previously discussed, to unblock what is a pretty obvious logjam coming up in February next year. And the obvious first mover was the Pakistan Cricket Board, and recognised that they need to rise to that. We'll see how the rest of the dominoes fall.
Well, the first of the dominoes is going to fall very, very soon. By the time we have our next podcast, we'll know what the schedule for the ILT20 is going to be. That's going to be announced imminently. So we'll keep our eyes and ears out for that, and it'll be a point of discussion on the Wicket next time around. Subas, what's tickled your fancy over the past week?
I think the pitches that's going to be used in New York. So they've hired professionals from Adelaide who have been doing it for a long time, but they're preparing pitches from Florida. They're going to be taking that and fit it in New York. So there's a big matches in New York, especially that India-Pakistan clash being the highlight of the World Cup. I think I'm curious to learn how they'll operate the pitches. They're installing 4 for matches and 6 for training. So US, we know how they can do what they can do, but I think cricket pitches are a different thing, and I'm excited to see, as well as curious to see how it reacts in US.
Yes, it is going to be interesting to see how those pitches are produced and how they respond as well, because of course the 22 yards is always a vital component of any tournament, and this tournament in particular coming up, because of course it's viewed as a shop window to try and expand the game in the USA. So everyone wants the best possible spectacle. Will they be able to produce it and produce good surfaces? Well, time will tell, and that time is coming very, very soon. Well, that's it for another episode of The Wicket. Thanks very much for joining us. We'll be back soon with more cricket chat from the Gulf region, Asia and worldwide. Please don't forget to like, subscribe and comment on what you've heard wherever you get your podcast. We'd love to get your feedback. And as ever, if there's anything like you'd like us to feature in future episodes, you can let us know as well. For now, though, this is Brian Murgatroyd along with Jon Pike and Subas Humagain saying thanks for listening, and we look forward to your company next time. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.